Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We live in a country that is driven by secular principles. All citizens, irrespective of their caste and religion, are equal in the eyes of the law, which is why the crackdown on those trying to tarnish the secular fabric of this country is totally uniform. The Delhi police has filed FIRs across the ideological divide to prosecute all those who have made bigoted hate comments, be it through their comments or their tweets or expressions on social media. Mongers from all communities have been named in these FIRs. From Nupur Sharma and Yatin Narsinhanand to Asaduddin Owaisi and hate preacher Mufti Nadeem. But many in the opposition believe that some are probably more equal than the others. AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi took to Twitter to put out 11 tweets questioning the action against him. He questioned why he was booked when the police couldn't even specify what comment of his had attracted the FIR. Well, that's his right to know what exactly is his crime that is being pulled up for. But he didn't stop at that. Owaisi called this crackdown a fake balance war. Another person named in the FIR, a political analyst leaning towards the AIMIM too, echoed a similar sentiment. Listen in to what he said in his defense.
अभी तक किसी प्रकार की जानकारी नहीं मिली। मीडिया के माध्यम से, टाइम्स नाउ चैनल के माध्यम से मुझे ये पता चला है कि भाई कुछ 30-31 लोगों के खिलाफ मामले दर्ज हुए हैं। उन 30-31 लोगों में एक मेरा भी नाम है। दरअसल दिक्कत क्या है कि हेट स्पीचर्स को काउंटर देना और हेट स्पीचर्स होना, इन दोनों चीज़ों में फ़र्क है। हम हमारे देश में देख रहे हैं कि किस तरह हेट्रेड फैलाने वालों को रिवॉर्ड दिया गया भारतीय जनता पार्टी की तरफ से। आप देख लीजिए, नंबर ऑफ क्रिमिनल्स, साध्वी प्रज्ञा हो, चाहे दिल्ली राइट्स के आरोपी हों, वो सारे लोग किस तरह से भारतीय जनता पार्टी में जुड़ते हैं। जो लोग नफरत की राजनीति करते हैं, उनके बड़े बड़े सांसद पब्लिकली स्टेटमेंट देते हैं गोली मारो को, तो उनके नाम नहीं आते। उनके खिलाफ इंसाफ के हक में बोलने वालों को हेट स्पीचर्स की लिस्ट में डाला जा रहा है। ये बहुत बड़ा मतलब अफसोसनाक बात है।
Now, Danish Qureshi is not the only one who's questioning this crackdown. And even now, selectivism seems to be the argument even at this point. First, the charge was that it is selective action against a certain community, to now the charge being selective action to put up a facade of balance. So you're damned if you balance, you're damned if you are one-sided. So is the opposition wanting us to believe that no action is impartial? Because even today, the action that is being taken in another case has triggered a fierce war of words with a templated response that only Muslims are targeted in this country. Listen in.
बजाय इसके कि उनके खिलाफ एक्शन होता तो मुसलमान को तसल्ली हो जाती कि भाई इन्होंने अगर हमारे रसूल सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के खिलाफ कोई गुस्ताखी की है तो गवर्नमेंट ने उस पर एक्शन लिया। ये काम नहीं किया, बल्कि मुसलमानों के खिलाफ कार्रवाई शुरू कर दी। ये मुनासिब नहीं है।
जो लोग भी इसमें शामिल होंगे उनके खिलाफ उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार निश्चित तरीके से कार्रवाई करेगी, क्योंकि किसी को भी दंगा करने की इजाज़त नहीं है। और विपक्ष अगर जो है या अल्पसंख्यक समाज के वो लीडर या मौलाना जो ये बात कर रहे हैं, वो उनको दंगाइयों को बचाने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं।
So the legitimate question I want to ask on the NewsHour tonight: hate halted, but politics carries on? That's the question, and that's the debate. Arrest hate hypocrisy. That's the hashtag and the debate on the other side.
You're watching the NewsHour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
And joining me on the debate tonight is Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at the ORF, Suhel Seth, Marketing Guru, Karan Verma, author, Tehseen Poonawalla, Political Analyst, Sanjay Jha, author, and Majid Hyderi, political activist. And Majid Hyderi, first question goes to you. Majid Hyderi, even as we speak about a crackdown, Asaduddin Owaisi Sahab comes out. He's a barrister. He comes out and questions that, I don't even know my crime. Well, that's his right. But he also comes out and says that this is an agenda by those people who made Yogi Adityanath the chief minister. I want to ask you, in a democracy like India, can you even use arguments of this kind to play a victim card? Was Yogi Adityanath made a chief minister, or did he win elections? Did the people of Uttar Pradesh make him the chief minister? Are elections contested, and do people vote for people, or do you think they just happen to come there because they belong to a certain religion? And all kinds of statements that are being made. Shouldn't everybody who was saying this toxic content that's floating around in the atmosphere today laud the fact that there is strict action that is being taken and an example is being made out of people who have resorted to call each other names and push the hate narrative?
Navika Saiba, it was supposed to be a proud moment for every Indian because the pace of Vikas in our country has made it to the Guinness Book of World Records that we have constructed world's fastest ever road. And credit goes to Honorable Prime Minister Ji and Nitin Gadkari for that matter. But unfortunately, we are discussing the same old story, which is the better color, the saffron or the green. And here we forget that both constitute our tricolor. I have a very humble submission. Why is it that always Muslims alone get demonized after every riot? Talib Hussain, Tahir Hussain after Delhi riots, Sonu Chilka after Delhi riots, Muslims in Rajasthan, and now Muslim posters being circulated in Kanpur in UP. Why is it all the times that only Muslims, the emotional outburst of a Muslim is seen through the of terror, that his emotional outburst of pelting a pebble is seen through terror funding? Why is every act of Indian Muslim and natural behavior being seen as an act of terror and probed through the prism of terror? This is all the way injustice with the Muslim community. We are being marginalized, we are being pushed to the wall for no fault of any Indian. This is dirty politics which needs to end, and that is our humble submission. We have no issues with any party. We appreciate the recent decisions taken by BJP. I even appreciate Mohan Bakhpaji for having come to the rescue of Muslims. But the problem is that the dirty side of saffron politics has got so deep-rooted that we have a trouble across the country, and innocent Muslims get jeopardized, demonized, emotional outburst, which could be true for Hindu or Muslim.
Emotional outburst. Now, Sushant Sareen, number one, if only Muslims are being, filed FIRs against, then maybe in our jails there is 100% Muslim occupation because sirf Muslims par hi hota hai. So the 35-40% or whatever statistics that are there should be completely disregarded, and we should believe that it's 100%. And number two, emotional outburst, stone pelting and trying to attack the police. Is that an emotional outburst? Should it be seen like that? Respond to Majid Hyderi's statement.
Yeah, so Navika, look, number one, I think people like Mr. Hyderi need to get out of this victim psychosis in which they are and they are pushing their community into because, we've seen enough of this victim card play out. The bottom line is this: when there was a congregation in Haridwar and there were some hate speeches made out there, nobody took it lying down. There was massive outrage in media across the board. To say that only Muslims are being singled out for in this particular case, number one, nobody was chucking pebbles, right? You are doing stone pelting and you are rioting on the streets. Number two, there are blood curdling calls for beheading and murder. To say that this is an emotional outburst, well then, gentlemen, keep your emotions in check. If you have a problem, go file a case. But Navika, there is another problem. I do not subscribe to this nonsense that, look, if you are now taking action, you need to balance it out. I think that's the worst way to implement law. What you need to make sure is that law is not applied in a biased manner. But to say that I am going to now if I'm taking, I'm filing a case against 10 Muslims, then I must also bring in 10 Hindus, I must bring in 10 Sikhs, 10 Christians. That is utter nonsense. That's not the way you run a country.
If it's 10 Muslims,
if there is somebody who has done wrong, please penalize him regardless of what faith he comes from. The third point I want to make, Navika, is the most important. You know, we are a country where a young politician like Tajinder Bagga makes, or some actress in Maharashtra makes a comment on a political leader, either the chief minister or their, the head of the coalition. They make a comment, maybe they lampoon a person. You throw the book at them, you put them in jail for over a month. You send the Punjab police, which has enough of fighting terrorism.
No, when was Tajinder Bagga in jail for 1 month?
Majid Hyderi, allow me to come in. I do not want anybody to speak over anybody because, Majid Hyderi, I don't know. Somebody will slip in some hate speech and I won't be able to hear it. Neither will my viewers, and suddenly somebody will take out a clip and troll us till the cows come home. So please, this is my disclaimer tonight. Do not speak over each other, because if you do, I'm going to lower your fader. Then don't cry that your freedom of speech has been taken away. Because when you speak over each other, it's the anchor which is in hot water, because I can't hear who's saying what, and I'm telling instructions to my director कि भाई क्या बोल रहे हैं, and you know, a lot gets lost in translation. So kindly hold your horses. Everybody will get an opportunity, but don't speak over each other, because I'm going to lower faders of people who interrupt. Sushant Sareen, last 30 seconds to you.
Yeah, so you know, we come down like a ton of bricks on these people. We put them in jail for over a month. There is no, recourse. There is no relief from courts. And then you have a case where there are people openly inciting violence, openly calling for murder, openly, rioting. And all you have is an FIR in which you do monkey balancing. I don't think that's the way to go about it. The FIR, I have nothing against the FIR. But if you have now filed the FIR, then please take it to the logical conclusion. Please prosecute these people who are damaging the social fabric by indulging in hate speech. And I don't care who it is. And one last point, Navika, and it's an advice to you and other fellow people in the journalism community. Please don't mainstream fringe voices. That is, I think, one of the big problems which we are going through, that you are amplifying fringe voices and you are mainstreaming fringe voices and you are ignoring the mainstream. Well, my sincere advice to you is that we can have a very strong and reasoned debate without indulging in hate speech.
May I tell you, some of these statements are made by bona fide representatives of bona fide political parties. They are bona fide organizations. They are bona fide sometimes journalists. So I don't know where to get a thermometer to check everybody. I don't know which is the certification authority that will decide. I don't invite Swami Yatinanand or whoever is accused, but who knows who's going to say what, and some people just come and speak in the middle, and sometimes it's an occupational hazard that you can't hear. Just as in the previous case, I was anchoring from Srinagar, where the internet quality was really bad that time, and I managed to miss a few words just because the internet quality wasn't so good. But then I'm the one who's crucified. But well, everybody's got to watch their words, and everybody's got to be civil with each other. And Tehseen Poonawalla, we've had differences in opinion. We say a lot of things, and that's what debate and discussions are all about. But to first begin from the premise that everything is unjustified, you should only not target me. It's almost like the Amitabh Bachchan dialogue in Diwar, which says पहले उसका signature लेके आओ जिसने मेरे हाथ पर ये लिख दिया था कि मेरा बाप चोर है, फिर मैं जवाब दूंगा. This is not a Hindi film that we are doing. The point really here is that if there is hate speech, if there is an objection, and many people have made memes on both sides of the ideological divide. My question is, now even to question the FIR, even to begin with that premise that everything has to be looked at with lots of suspicion, is that the right direction to solve the problem which we are trying to do at the moment?
Namaskar Navika ji, good evening to you, to all my fellow panelists and to all your viewers. This is one of those rare occasions where, with respect, I disagree with Sushant Sareen ji. And I agree with you, Navika ma'am, that who is fringe and who is mainstream. I mean, people either who are coming to your show or otherwise are national spokespersons of the party sent and authorized by the party within the party sent them. So that can't be, that's not an accusation that should fall on you as the messenger. You were only carrying the message. They had to stay within the democratic limits and within the party limits. But I have a larger question on what is fringe and what is mainstream. Because fringe is the lady from Bhopal against whom I'd fight the complaint, who the Honorable Prime Minister told you personally, ma'am, that she has broken, she's hurt him and he will never forgive her. Today a member of parliament she was fringe at one time. Today she's a member of parliament after the Prime Minister. You, ma'am. Who is fringe, ma'am? Adityanath ji was on a stage when vulgar words were spoken about dead women as member of parliament. Today he's chief minister of Uttar Pradesh. I don't even want to repeat those words. Is he fringe? And it has happened on the other side of the divide. OAC brothers, look at the language they use and continue to use. There's a video now going viral of the OAC brother, a proclaimed offender who's continuing to use abusive language against Hindu gods and goddesses. Is he fringe? He's a member of the Legislative Assembly in Telangana. The point is, ma'am, all of us as a nation need to stop, take a pause, take one step behind and realize that the destruction we are causing to our country is irreversible. We will all not be there in the next 40, 50, 60, 70 years, but India will remain forever. We cannot destroy the legacy of India. India is not a 70-year-old nation. It's a civilization that is hundreds and hundreds of years old. Why and how are we destroying it? And I support what is happening. Action should be taken on every side of the divide, whichever side of the divide decides spread hate or hurt a community. But I have a question. When the Honorable Supreme Court gave guidelines, in my particular case, on how hate speech must be tackled both online and offline, why did the Honorable Prime Minister and Home Minister not pass that law in Parliament, despite me going personally to the Home Secretary? Even now I've asked them for an appointment. I have personally filed cases against those on this side of the divide. My side of the divide was spreading hate against Hindu gods, goddesses. Why those FIRs not being filed? Why those complaints not being translated into FIRs? And that gives a feeling to either side that there is a bias. We need to work as per the law of the land, as per our constitution, which is our only holy book and our holiest book for that matter.
Well, it's not only about holy books, is it? Because somebody, I remember in the last elections, even called Chaukidar Chor hai. Now, is that hate speech or not? Suhel Seth, that's the question many people are asking.
Chaukidar Chor cannot be compared to what?
Yeah, sure, fair point. Yeah, but I'm just saying.
It's a jumla. It is, you can, yeah, but it's not a hate, yeah.
Okay, all right. It's a jumla, you believe. Ab aapke muh se nikal gaya. So the jumlas come from both sides of the divide. But Suhel Seth.
I mean, it's...
Suhel Seth, my question to you is, crossing of the line is something that's happening all the time. And when that happens, why is there outrage, selective outrage that happens? I want to play out the visuals because I'm not going to put up the volume. I don't want to have hate speeches blaring all the time. But these are visuals of what was done in Jammu Masjid today. And all kinds of calls of, chopping off necks and taking away hands and names of people and all kinds of threats today. But then Majid Hyderi and people like him will come out and say, कि भाई ये तो Muslims के against है. I want to ask you, why does it become about a religious community? Hate is hate, whoever does it. Why do we make it about that it's against this religion or that religion, this community or that community?
Religion is a great identity definer. It defines for a lot of people, it defines who they are. But religion is a private matter. The day you put religion out in the public domain, you create the issues that have been created in this country. Tehseen talked about something, but I want to extend that argument. India is a civilizational legacy. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm a Hindu, but do I wear it on my sleeve? No. Why? Because I don't need to. Do I need to tell people who I worship? I don't need to. That's between my maker and me, as it should be for every citizen of this country. The problem is that politicians got away by using religion as an electoral tool or as an electoral lollipop. That has now degenerated into the debasement of the worst kind. And what has happened is the anonymity on social media, the mechanisms which Sushant referred to of mainstream media actually profiling and platforming a lot of these jokers has given them more courage to say who can be a bigger abuser. Majid, we've never met except for now. I can only tell you this, my friend. There is no victim. There are people who commit crimes, and then there are people who don't commit crimes. For me, an Owaisi is not a politician if he has made if what he said is criminally non-tenable. Then it is a crime that needs to be booked under the laws that exist in our country. But what was the problem? The problem is we either chose the laws and prosecuted those who we wanted to prosecute, and people who were being prosecuted then converted it into a religious bias. So both sides were wrong. It is convenient for people to hide under the garb of, to hide under religion because it's the convenient whipping horse. So my point is as follows. A, action against hate must be taken universally without fear, favor, or any kind of polarization. I don't care whether the person is Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh. If he has committed a hate crime, he needs to be booked, he or she. Number two, we cannot as an entire nation be shamed because of some stupid comments made by stupid people for no rhyme or reason. So if there is no general universal condemnation, we are in trouble. And what is happening today is even condemnation is being polarized. So today you're saying, oh, you are condemning me because I'm Muslim, or you're condemning me because I'm Hindu. I mean, what kind of a country do we want? Is this the divisiveness that we seek? Is this the India that the Gandhis and the Nehrus and even today Modi wants? Do we want a country that is shamed internationally for no rhyme or reason? I mean, I cannot even understand. Even the word fringe elements is incorrect English, but that is pardonable because, you know, the BJP has written that press statement. What do you mean by fringe element? The definition of fringe is a strand of hair which falls off from your head. So you're still rooted to the head, for God's sake. And I do not believe, Navika, and there I tend to slightly deviate from what Tehseen said, it is all political parties have become this way. All of them. They have become irresponsible. They have allowed debasement to enter. Our modicum, our decorum in debates has fallen to a low that we have never seen. Humor has gone out of our lives. We are an angry country. If someone were to ever come in as a tourist and put on television in the evening, that guy will think, man, this country is at war every minute. He doesn't know that Tehseen and I will, after the studio, go and chat as good friends over a glass of sugarcane juice, which at my age is the only thing I can have. But we've stopped humor. There's no humor. It's the George Bush syndrome. Either you're with me or against me. Then people are calling people, and then media unfairly at times and fairly at times is being accused, oh, you call these people so that aapke TRPs bade. Navika, I've known you. You will not at any cost or for any TRP sacrifice either the unity of our country or foster, encourage and promote any level of polarization. But this is who we are becoming. So I'm saying bring nice people on the program. Bring people who are literate, who can quote, who can end the program with Shakespeare or with Dinkar or with Tagore. Everyone is ending with, I'll kill you tomorrow, I'll kill you day after. What kind of a nation do we want here? Everything is going well for us. We have the world's youngest democracy. We have the world's finest entrepreneurs. We have a civilizational legacy made by all communities put together. Do we want to fritter that away at the altar of rage, at the altar of polarity, at the altar of hate? Not at all. Love. And Majid, stop putting your finger up. That's the other problem in India. When people are speaking, everyone wants to interrupt. You'll get your turn, my friend. So, point is, have people like Sanjay Jha, Sushant Sareen, Tehseen Poonawalla, Karan, even Majid. Have people who are happy. You know, Cassius in Julius Caesar, brilliantly Julius Caesar says, and this was no reference to my weight, he says, let me have men about me who are fat, for Cassius has a lean and hungry look. Such men are dangerous. Let's not have a lean and hungry look filled with rage. Smile a little, love a lot, be happy. I know you disagree, my good friend, but you know, everyone is entitled. And let's agree to disagree without being disagreeable. The point is our disagreements have become disagreeable. I mean, for God's sake, we are in a great nation. You know, Majid started the debate by saying, if you look at the figures, if you look at the economy, why do we want to fritter that away? I've never understood. Perhaps Sushant can tell us because he's such a learned gentleman with the Observer Research Foundation.
Well, Suhel, you seem to be somebody who's really working on his HQ, which is the happiness quotient.
I've always had a happiness quotient. अब ये भी इसमें भी नजर लगा दो. Come on. अब इसमें भी नजर लगा दो.
Nazar is all, all myth. We are all in a happy space. Nazar कैसे लगेगी? मैं तो benign and I'm very nice and a happy person. I'm not polarizing at all, not hateful at all. Why will I lagao nazar? This is where your hate is also now transparently there after all the motivational speech that you've done. But Sanjay Jha, the political tool, easy politics happens through the religious prism, and that's why. And Indians by and large are, religion is a part of their life unless, somebody is moved up the economic ladder as much as Suhel has. Religion, thoda sa puja part, it's an important part, integral part of people's daily lives. Have politicians exploited that amongst the people, citizens of India, and used it as a toolkit for their own vote banks? And is everybody across the spectrum guilty of doing that?
Well, Navika, the short answer to your question is that the entire political ecosystem has to put up its hands and say that we have failed the citizens of our country, of a great country. I need to add here that everything that Suhel said, I think not just me, but practically everyone watching your program will agree with it because it's dispassionate. And I think at the end of the day, what is missing in politics in India at the moment is that we are all beginning to become so parochial and petty that no one is really thinking of how can we make a difference to make our lives better. There is one data point, Navika, which will tell you what India should be actually debating, but is being forced to discuss other narratives. In the Environmental Performance Index, we have been ranked at number 80 at the lowest in the world at a time when climate change threatens civilization. When you have probably Glasgow and you'll have many more climate change threats. Future generations. India is such a young country, Navika. Every year we debate about how polluted our societies are, but politicians are not going to discuss that. You see, this is the fundamental challenge. Politicians, and I've been one, and I need to say this regretfully, but with complete transparency, that we only worry about an election and re-election. No one cares a damn for the future generations. And therefore, politics needs, I want India to have a green party. One of the things that I pushed and I'm trying to push within the Congress is make climate change your biggest USP for 2024. Talk to the young, change the whole narrative. India, you're absolutely right, Navika. We are a religious country. We have a very checkered history. And these are certain realities that we'll have to manage, cope, and hopefully we will improve on that. But for any political entity to try and make that their very foundational principle for winning elections, I think we all need to come together and say, that's not going to happen. And I do feel that when you have a country, Navika, where 22% of people are living below the poverty line, and that 22%, by the way, is 300 million. It's almost equivalent to the population of America, or 6 or 7 times the population of Australia. So we got an astronomical problem there. You got farmers who need to be taken care of. We keep talking about education and health. I mean, there are fundamental challenges that we need to debate. I'll give you one example, Navika. A Hollywood actor went to Washington, to the White House yesterday, Matthew McConaughey, and spoke on gun control. I want, whether it's films, whether it's an intellectual, whether it's a Suhel Seth, whether it's a political analyst or a political creature, actually. I would love politicians from BJP in Congress to discuss issues that affect the common man on a day-to-day basis. I think, let me tell you that your channel is an extremely popular one. And, even, I believe me, you're surprised, but you don't know how much I have fought with my own party until I was suspended to say that you should always go and be on every TV channel. The mainstream media is so crucial for you to get your message out. They don't get it. Well, that's their problem. But I do want to tell you that your channel is popular. Forget the controversies that have happened. And I'm telling you that I'm loving the debate today, where right from Tehseen to Sushant to Majid to Suhel, I think we have all said what we genuinely feel. And trust me, your viewers are going to love it. Because end of the day, nobody likes to go to sleep feeling polarized and disturbed.
I hope they do love it, but I'll send you the TRP numbers next week of the debate today. But is that going to change anything? We might all agree, and deep down we are all rational human beings, as Suhel said, who after an argument, after a debate, will go out, sit together, have a glass of sugarcane juice and have a reasonable conversation. But Karan Verma, will this change? Will parties pick up? Will people pick up these issues? No, because even as we are speaking this, even as these FIRs have been filed, the fact is every single political party is sitting in a resort where they're sitting, keeping their MLAs together, because there is a Rajya Sabha election tomorrow morning. Who's going to defect where? Who's going to be brought this side? What kind of trading? What are the rates of trading? And that's when the real business will begin. And, that business has been on for the last, 10 days. I want to ask you, we might speak all of this, and today we might all actually come to a unanimity on this issue. But will anything change in the long run? Will we?
Well, it can only change when we end the hypocrisy, as the title of your show is, Navika. This debate has been a whiff of fresh air, and we so wish that this happens in our politics and in our public discourse largely. Today is a day, Navika, which should be welcomed by one and all. We've seen the Delhi police file FIRs across ideological divide, across the political spectrum, and hate has no place in a civilized country like ours. Suhel is right. India's brand equity doesn't need hate. We want to be a happy country that is making giant strides. So is Sanjay Jha right, because today there is no place for all of this. We have demographic dividend and we should max it as much as we can. But the politics of hatred, when a Congress party aligns with ISF in Bengal, when a Congress party aligns with an AIUDF in Assam, that is where the problem is. When Mr. Owaisi makes a comment that this is a balancing act, and the truth is that the only balancing act that has happened has been the bogey of Hindu terror, which was coined by Digvijay Singh. That is where the problem is. Only when we come together and criticize a crime for a crime, hatred for hatred, then only we can make giant strides. Otherwise, such debates will come and grow, we'll feel good, but it will not last for much. For this to India for too long, our politics, our people need to come together and call a spade a spade.
Well, Tehseen Poonawalla, respond to that. It has to begin somewhere. It can't be that Rajasthan will carry on in some other universe where perpetrators of the Ram Navami violence will not be brought to the book, where, and if Yogi tries to do that, then people like Majid Hyder will argue कि भाई मुसलमानों को पकड़ रहे हो. I just want to ask you, is there a shade of crime? is there a shade of terror? Is there a community, a religion that it is associated with? But it's something that was created. Hindu terror, this terror, that terror. You know, are we in a mindset where on a permanent basis we will be able to change this? Are we?
Navika, to quote Shakespeare in simple English, we know what we are, but know not what we may be. And for India to reach the goal of a $5 trillion or $20 trillion economy, to elevate poverty and the suffering of our fellow citizens, to give equal opportunities to every single citizen of ours and their children, the idea must be that we must stick to our core values for which we got independence, for which our founding fathers fought. And those core values today, I see from all sides, are being eroded. And the fact of the matter is, Suhel is right, Sanjay is right. There is streaming of hate that has happened. So therefore I'm saying, and I repeat myself, that we all need to pause. We need to stop the finger pointing and say, where do we go from here? What is the direction that we take from here? Do we sit back, look back at the dark ages over the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years, the polarization, or say the next 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years will be a land of opportunity where we will end the suffering that today our people are suffering, that Sanjay spoke about. So that is a call all of us must take as a nation. And all of us must, there must be critique of every single action. However, that critique must be within the acceptable boundaries. And that boundaries need to be drawn out by us. Us people who sit in these television studios are privileged to sit and follow the line. We have a great nation that allows us to criticize night after night the highest authority. And night after night I criticize the Prime Minister fearlessly. But that must be within limits, within decent language. And whether we critique anybody or any organization, it must be within the constitutional boundaries. That's what I feel.
Do you agree today that the Prime Minister is not a dictator, he's not Hitler? Because many in your party don't believe that. Yes or no?
If you were to ask me honestly, if you were to ask me very honestly, and I cannot lie to you, I do believe that the Honorable Prime Minister also made certain statements as Prime Minister which he shouldn't have. For example, dangayon ko kapdon se pehchana jata hai. But I don't want to get into that. It was a complaint I had filed against him at the Election Commission. I think we should all now, at least political leaders, act like statesmen, whether it's Shri Rahul Gandhi, whether it's Shri Narendra Modi, and take this nation forward. I think a great idea is if Shri Rahul Gandhi, Shri Narendra Modi, Arvind Kejriwal ji, Mamta ji can sit and have a civilized conversation, laughing, smiling, maybe over sugarcane juice, and show the country that together we are one, and we will. We may have different approaches, but the end goal is to take India to a $5 trillion, $10 trillion equitable economy. I think we should strive at doing that.
After our parents have chastised us many times, when we were young kids, we behave like this. For 2 days, 3 days, it lasts. Does it last forever? And do you think people who came out and said the RSS is almost like ISIS and Boko Haram, and somebody who said Jai Shri Ram is a war cry, or Jai Shri Ram is almost, people who say Jai Shri Ram are like the devil's Rakshas hote hain. Sushant Sareen, will this change in the long run?
Navika, first, just one point of disagreement with Suhel and all the others who are swearing by sugarcane juice. I don't think drinking sugarcane juice after this debate makes for a happy nation. I can think of better things to drink. But having said that, look, number one, there should not be a problem in having very spirited and strong debates and differences. We are a society where we agree to disagree with each other, and I agree with Suhel when he says without being disagreeable, which is what Tehseen said, that look, you can say really strong things against people, but within certain boundaries of decency. You can't be giving Mavhengi gali publicly. If you're sitting with your friends, you're using some language, it's one thing, but publicly to be threatening death, to be threatening beheading. I saw a vile video the other day by somebody in some part of Delhi who's saying the vilest of things against Nupur Sharma. Is this the level of debate? And people are showing it publicly. So I think one is that part of it. The other part of it is, look, politicians will go after each other. There have to be certain boundaries, there have to be certain frontiers, they should not, red lines, they should not cross. But to say that, look, after today, everybody will be, you know, meeting each other, like somebody once said, with this happiness on their face, hugging each other, the climate would have changed. I don't even want that to happen, because India will become a terribly boring country after that. So we must have our debates. We must have debates on issues. Unfortunately, we have debates on non-issues. Yes, let's have a debate on climate change, and I have a serious problem with that climate change report which has come out. Sanjay Jha might subscribe to it. I don't, because I think there's a political angle to it.
is an issue for some people. Are you saying we should brush it under the carpet?
But Navika, if Gyan Vyapi is an issue, and it is an issue, it's a historical legacy, it is an issue. But are we going to chop off each other's heads while trying to solve that issue? Or are we going to argue it out? Are we going to debate about it? We have very spirited debates about it. We take legal recourse, we press our legal claims, we press historical claims, and we try and sort it out. We use politics for it. Are we going to do that, or are we going to go streets, riot, massacre each other, chop off each other's head, make the most blood-curdling calls for violence? Are we going to do that?
Very well said. No space for that. And Majid Hyderi has been raising his hand. I have to bring him in. Majid Hyderi, reasonable point. We have our differences, but should we draw a line somewhere?
Well, yes, Navika Sahib, firstly, it's an honor to share dice with people of varied thought, especially Suhel Sahib. But let's agree to disagree, sir. You said that we should quote Shakespeare. We don't live in Shakespearean era, sir. What's in a name is not the truth about our country. It's all about names, sir. Khan and Khanna are poles apart when it comes to police probing the separate ruled states. And that is what the discussion is all about. We say end this discrimination because law says everybody is equal in the eyes of law, but that doesn't happen in reality. That is the problem. The problem is that one community gets marginalized, demonized for no fault of theirs. So let's stop the buck somewhere, sir, and let's accept that there has been something wrong in our country for the last few years, which needs to be corrected through course correction. If we are a progressive nation, we need to be united. Our unity in diversity has been our hallmark, and it comes from mutual respect, sir. Unless we revive that, and unless that comes from the majority community government, which wears the religion on its sleeves. Why do we have a chief minister doing puja, which becomes a national issue? Why should any chief minister or prime minister's puja or his religious belief become a national issue or a national concern? It's his private issue, sir, as you rightly said. Religion is my private affair. But when the governments politicize it and make it an official affair,
it
becomes
I'm
a
running
debate.
out of time. I have to interrupt you.
lies.
Sorry to interrupt you, but Suhel Seth, respond to that. Running out of time. Last comment by Suhel Seth.
You know, there is no disagreement that the law is blind to religion, caste, creed, and color. It is no one's case on this panel that the law should be selective, and I said that in my opening remarks. But the law cannot be not implemented because I belong to either a majority community or a minority community or a sideline community. That is irrelevant and illogical. Number two, I will end with a solution, Navika. Politicians only love one thing, it's power. If you combine the election or give the election commission more power and more teeth than they already have, if they have any at all, the only way you will stop this is if a politician indulges in hate speech, he is debarred from standing for political office forever. You do that to one person, all these jokers will stand in line. As for the common citizen, there's no question if you can create special courts for PMLA and for POSCO, have a special tribunal or a court or a judicial track for hate crime. Because to my mind, hate is worse than anything else. It will divide India rather than unite. It will destroy India rather than make it progressive. And it is not who we are. So I do not want to stand shamed in the international community because of something I'm not. And if my government can't clarify it, someone else needs to. So you and your media colleagues and your media channels need to tell the world that India is not about hate. India is about love. India is not about polarity. It's about plurality. And India is about affection and not about being aghast with each other. That's the India we belong to, and that's the India that will remain.
That's right. I completely agree with you, and I just want to end with one point. Our Upanishads have said this, Satyam Vad Dharm Char, which means speak the truth, walk on the path of dharma. And dharma not always means your religion. Dharma also means doing the right thing. And our dharma teaches us. That is what Indianness is all about. It is about the idea of India, and it is about staying on the course of dharma. And that dharma is that argue, debate, but draw the line. Because hurting each other is not the solution to the problem. There is a constitution, there are courts which will resolve issues which can't be resolved between people. But when we are arguing, we need to respect each other and each other's rights. Because without a Lakshman Rekha, call it by whatever else definition in whatever religion, but without a Lakshman Rekha, we will be all over the place, and we will be speaking sentences like Sar tan se juda, or this one is bad and that one is bad. We need to be on the same page because we are Indians. It's as simple as that. Thank you very much to my panelists for joining me on debate number 1.